Okay, so tell me your full name and when and where you were born.
Okay, my name is Edna Louise Cawthorn. You want Cawthorn?
Either one.
And then Parks,
Yes.
because I was Cawthorn before I married Earl.
Right.
So which do you want me to do?
Either one that you want to do.
Well, it don't matter.
You can do both if you want.
Okay. Let's put both of them.
Okay. And when and where were you born?
I was born in 1922 in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Michigan.
I was a Michigan girl.
I've never been there.
Kalamazoo. I was there. We lived there until when I come back down here. I had to go in the 3rd grade.
You go in the 3rd grade.
Yeah. See, so I was raised from infant, born, you know. Dad, he worked in a factory.
So why did you guys move?
They wanted to come home. They was both from down here. Mom and my mother and Dad both was from down here.
Well, then I don't blame them for wanting to come back.
I don't know. But he had to work in them coal mines if he come down here, you know. And that's not a good job.
Mm-mm.
And back then it was awful.
It was.
Because they had them little old bitty thing, nothing fancy like they have
right now.
They're building now. It's awful.
So it was different back then.
Yeah.
So, do you know why you were given your name?
Well, my aunt's name is Edna.
So you're named after your aunt?
I guess. And my dad has a sister named Louise.
Oh.
So they never discussed it, so I just assumed that's...
That's why, that you were named after them? Because they were probably really important.
Oh, well, my Aunt Edna was.
Yes.
She was a nurse.
Oh.
And she lived close to us, you know, after we come back from Michigan.
That's
and,
nice.
She is something else.
Oh,
she had no children.
Oh.
She was married 6 times and didn't have any children. And but she thought of the world of me and my sister and my brother.
Because you probably were basically like her children.
Yeah.
Yeah, she probably spoiled you guys.
Well, I helped her work a lot. I had to help my grandmother too. Joanne, her name was Joanne.
Oh.
Kilman. She was a Kilman, but she married a Stone. Are you getting that?
So, do you know any stories about the history of the family name or like where we originate from?
Well, my dad, the Cawthorn part, his grandparents raised him because his father died and she married again, and I guess the grandparents didn't want he had a sister too.
Right.
Them two to live with him.
Oh.
Back then they did that. So he was raised by his grandparents.
Oh.
And they was big farmers. And you know where that little cemetery is? By, well, who would be there that you'd know? Well, you know where Mom and Dad live.
Yes.
Okay. You know that little cemetery that's up there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Dad's grandfather gave him that ground to put that there.
Oh, really?
And so there's a lot of Cawthorns, some Cawthorns there. And then over at Coal Banks, at Spring Grove, they changed that road, so then there's more over there because Dad's, he would have been his cousin, I guess. He was killed up here in Marion.
He was?
A guy knifed him. Killed him.
Oh, that's sad.
He was just, I think 16.
Oh, that's really sad.
And so he's buried over at the other cemetery. And, but outside of that, now the Stones, I don't know where they were just my grandfather's name. And Mother had a sister and a brother. That's all the kids they had too. And my uncle didn't have any children either.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. So, see, we was the only 3
You
grandkids.
were the only 3 grandkids. That's nice.
Well, in a way, and then I guess it's not. I don't know.
Because we have a big family now.
Oh.
There's a lot of us.
Well, I probably can't even remember all their names, I tell you.
No, there's so many of us now.
I know it. And then getting married and more kids, and I feel sorry. That's the reason I told your mother, you know, when she was down here, I said, I'm too nervous to be around that many people. It really makes me nervous.
Like at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she said, that's all right. I said, but because, you know, my mind is not like it used to be. And if I saw somebody that I should know their name and I wouldn't know it, I'd feel real bad.
Yeah, but we still love you, and we come see you like this.
Well, that's fine. You can come anytime. I'm right here.
Right.
Yeah. 96 years old.
96.
I picked this house up and moved out, and Earl Gilbert house. He came home. We lived down there by the part of the where that little old house is that everybody lived in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we lived in the big house. That was we had it built, you know. And so he came in one day, and he said, well, you'll have to find some place to live because I give this one away.
He gave it away?
Gave it away.
Why
gave it to Joada.
Oh, gave it to Joada?
Well, Bill, her husband, Bill, yeah. Them, and the boys live there too, you know, Adam and Jake, you know, them.
Yeah.
And anyway, they had just opened this thing up, and this is the only house they had built in this subdivision.
This was the first one?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
And it was for people to look at, so I bought it. I picked it out. Earl wanted to go to the airport out there. I said, no, I'm not going out there and all
Not that far.
Well, there's too much noise and all.
There's a lot of noise out there.
Yeah. And so he said, okay. And so then he built his shed out there. He thought he had to have something, you know, with all that junk he has.
Yes.
And he had to move from down there. And so we lived here. I guess let's see, what was the day? I've been here over 32 years right here.
Right. That's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you meet Grandpa? When did you guys meet?
Well, probably in Crab Orchard.
Crab Orchard?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember how you met? Like what you were doing?
The first time I saw him?
Yeah.
He wasn't in school when I was in school. Well, when we got out of school, you know, we walked down to them little stores.
Yeah.
And we stayed there till people come and picked us up to take us home. See, they had no buses or nothing like that. And then I always went over there and sat on they had a big porch, that one store did. And he didn't mind us kids sitting in those chairs, you know.
Yeah.
And so I'd help, I'd keep the thing clean, you know.
Yeah.
Sweep it off and all for him. And so he treated us real nice. So that's the way we did and waited for our rides to come. They all went different directions. And but now Earl didn't go to school when I did down there. So I guess I just in Crab Orchard where I met him. The only thing I know. I saw him.
Yeah. So when did you guys get married?
When?
Yeah.
After that? Well, it's probably several years.
Yeah.
Because he went away and went to Chicago.
Chicago.
Yeah. He got his education up there, I think.
In Chicago?
Oh, yeah. And not school education, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he was a farm boy.
He was a farm boy.
And he got a job working in restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
And he found a lot of businessmen would come in that restaurant, you know, and talk about the business. So then he took different courses up there. And so then he came back home, back down to Marion. And he wanted us to get married, and I said, I can't get married now. My sister had twins.
Twins?
And she didn't know a thing about a baby. And had twin boys. And so Mom, my mother, went to St. Louis and stayed with her and her husband and helped her with them boys till she figured out how to take care of them, I guess. And I had to stay at home, take care of Dad and Bill.
Right.
And see that Bill went to school, had clean clothes and eat. And Dad had to get off to work, you know.
Right.
So I was at the farm.
So you couldn't get married yet?
No.
Nope, not yet.
I said, I can't. course, he didn't like to say it. You just say no to him, you know.
Yes.
Do you remember Earl?
Yes, I remember Grandpa Earl.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
And anyway, I guess that went over, I guess, for 2 years. And so finally I give in on February the 13th. And why? That was the coldest day I ever saw.
Oh, it was?
Yes.
Why?
Well, the weather.
The weather was too cold?
Oh, it was terrible. And of course, I was used to cold weather, you know,
Right.
but it was just unusual. But anyway, we had to get married at the Justice Apartment there in Crab Orchard.
Mm-hmm.
And from then on, we went and lived with his folks for, I don't know, a few months. And then we rented a house. Do you remember where Crab Orchard, after you go through Crab Orchard, then there's a store called Dorot's Store.
Yeah.
Well, on past that is just farmland.
Mm-hmm.
And so he rented a place that was a farm and had a house on it. Well, that was the dirtiest house I believe I ever saw. So,
Oh, it was the dirtiest house ever? It was the dirtiest house you've ever seen?
well, my grandmother was one of them kind that was spick and span, you know. And so Mom was always good too and I helped them all, you know, clean things up. So I said, well, we just have to go clean that place up. And we painted every room and even had to put some windows in some. My grandfather was a carpenter, so we had to replace some windows. We got it cleaned up.
Yeah, you did.
So Earl, he come in with a truck with the furniture, used furniture from Harrisburg. And so we all then and had to clean that up too. But we got it fixed up, and we lived there until he bought a house on this side of Crab Orchard. And I only had Linda then, you know. And then Brenda was born there. And that's when I was sick as a dog with her. Now, I never was sick with any of the kids. I don't know why. I was so sick with her. Throwed up all the time.
All the time?
Yeah, and hurt. But anyway, I got over that. And so then we had Katie. And I don't remember the date. It's probably on here somewhere, maybe. We had a bad winter storm. Mm-hmm. And the house that we had moved into then, the power lines that went to the mines, out, you know, larger than the others, it fell down on our phone line, and our house caught on fire between the woods in there.
Yeah.
You couldn't put it out at all. Of course, you didn't have nothing to put it out with
No,
anyway.
not at all.
So it burnt.
That's sad.
Yeah, and so then we went and he rented a house in Marion. First time I had a house in Marion.
Marion.
And it was about as dirty. So I had to clean that thing up. And basements, I hated basements because every one we ever lived in was dirty.
Dirty?
Mm-hmm.
That's why you don't have a basement here, do you?
No.
Nope. You don't have one
They
here?
built one down there. See, we built that house down there.
Yeah.
I told them, I said, I do not want a basement. And they said, okay. So I went down there to see how long they was getting along, because I was still in Marion, you know. Here.
Yeah.
And I said, what's that big hole there? Basement. They had put a basement in that house.
Oh, I bet you were not happy.
No, never was. It was wet all the time.
Mm-hmm.
All the time, that house was. So then, that's the one he gave away, you know.
Yes, he gave that one away.
And so I got up here in no basement. And I was talking about that basement, you know. And someone said, well, you should have had a basement under here. I said, I didn't want a basement.
Mm-mm.
I moved away from basements.
Yeah, that's probably why you like this house so much.
Yeah.
Because it didn't have one.
And so anyway, then I lived here. We lived here, and then we'd go to Florida, you know, for the winter. And had a pretty place down there. I played golf. We played cards with some of the other people from that pier. And we'd all get together every evening and play cards, you know.
Yeah.
And that was Earl until Earl was, I knew he wasn't able to make the trips. I could tell he was slipping. So I said, I think we better sell. So we put our little house up for sale down there, and man come by and bought it. I even sold him my furniture.
Even the furniture?
Down there, yeah.
Yeah, because
I had this up here.
Yeah, you didn't need it up here.
And so it was a pretty place, and it was between two golf courses.
I think my mom has showed us that house, or where it used to be when we go to Florida before.
Well, I've tried to tell them to see if it was still there.
Yeah.
And you think it is?
It might be.
Because see, it was used house when we bought it, and but we could get cleaned and everything. But anyway, it was right between two golf courses, so everybody that came to visit, they all enjoyed that, you know. And but then we sold it, didn't have no trouble selling it at all. So we moved home, and for good.
For good.
Up here.
Yeah.
So I'm still here.
You are still here.
And but Earl, he just kept it getting worse and worse, and he had Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and whatever.
Yeah.
And they think they can get it well, but they can't. So, but we was all up there at the hospital when he passed away.
Yeah, I remember.
Well, yeah.
He's in a better place now, though, watching over us.
Yeah. So they say they worked on it again. I don't know about that, but it was all right then when he was in there. You know.
Yeah.
It wasn't as large as it was later, but he was in a special room. Well, I think that's where they took the people that was dying anyway. You know, in a special room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's just this one family, all of us is in there going in and out, them kids.
Yes.
Because, well, see, Adam and Jay was there, and was it you? Yeah.
We were
Yeah,
there.
you, I've still got that thing you drawed.
Yep, she wrote that card for Grandpa.
I've got one, too, that she wrote to him. It's in the album. And, let's see. Katie was there, and Tim. Me and Tim sat side by side on the bed. He sat on one side, and I sat on the other side. And let's see, Simone and well, Danny, he had to leave because that was when he was going to have that surgery or whatever. So he had to go home and rest or do something. But he was there. Now Heather was there. I'm trying to think if Derek was. Where would Derek have been? Well,
I don't remember.
Heather. Derek worked. He lived in that trailer, you know,
Yes.
and worked for Pulley's there for what they called Pulley then. But I know Heather was there, and her and Vernon came, and then Vernon had to leave, so she went home with him for a while, and then she came back, and she was still there whenever he passed away too. And then of course we had the funeral and all, and it's out there.
Do you want to tell me about your favorite memory from when you were growing up?
What I like to do best?
You can tell me what you like to do best.
Well, I guess play.
You like
We
to
played
play?
ball. You know, I had to play ball with the boys.
Yeah.
Because there's more boys than there was girls back then. And then I went to grade school. We walked to school through the rain and the snow.
Did you like school?
Oh, I wasn't that great. But,
No.
of course, I went to Michigan school.
Yes.
And it was a big school. Well, this was just a little
A
house,
little one.
you know, one room.
One room school. So did you
Yeah.
help the younger kids
Yeah,
learn?
I watched them. I took care of them.
You took care of them?
See, we only had one teacher, and she had to teach each class, you know. And so when she was teaching them other classes, I had to watch these little kids
Watch
down
the
here.
little ones.
And then I had to play ball, but we didn't have enough boys. And I played everything, I think, position.
Which kind?
I didn't pitch now.
No,
I wasn't a
you
pitcher.
didn't. But you liked playing ball with the.
Well, you got outside.
Yeah.
And we played other little old schools.
Oh, that was fun.
They'd come to see us, and we'd have to go see them. And then, let's see what else happened to us. Then when we were seniors, I guess we wouldn't be seniors then, but anyway, our last class, this was teacher. She came from up north, and she wanted us all we were taking some kind of a course, so she took 2 girls and 1 boy, because we didn't have all the boys, and to go out in the woods and ever who brought the most beautiful flower back, then they got a prize.
Ooh.
But she just sent us one at a time. I mean,
one at a time.
Group, yeah. And so we found one, me and that girl that was with us, and then that boy. And we was walking back to school, so but the others could come, go. And directly I heard, oops. And I looked around, and he was gone. And he had fell in a well.
He fell in a well?
Yes, and he was one of the football, they didn't play football then, but he was one of the bigger boys.
Yeah.
And he was holding on to a little bitty bush, and I knew that bush wouldn't hold him.
Oh, no.
And so I laid down on the ground, I remember that, and locked my feet around another bush and held onto his arm there.
I bet that was
And that girl was there. I said, run to the school and get the jumping rope and tell them boys to come.
Come get this
so
boy.
they come and we got him out of that well.
That's crazy.
Well, they were supposed to fill all that stuff up,
But they forgot.
Well, we didn't even know the thing was there, But
He's lucky.
we survived. And I never will forget that episode, my word. And I don't think we got the prettiest robe or flower or whatever. I don't know who got the prize. I don't even remember what the prize was.
No. Well, you were very brave for saving him.
Yeah. Oh, well, he was an only child.
Oh, yeah.
And he was just a big boy to start with, He said his mother said he was grown before he was born.
Yeah.
And so then we went to high school, and high school was just high school.
High school.
Yeah. And we finally played basketball. This teacher wanted us, the girls, to have a basketball team. And so she said, I'm going to get materials, pink and blue, so we'll have 2 teams. You can play together, like that. So then her parents had to fix their suits to put on,
Yeah, so you matched.
And so we played basketball. And of course, football wasn't in then.
Oh, it wasn't?
Well, not in our schools, They was too small. And the boys, they had basketball, And they'd be other teams, and then they have to go play somebody else too.
Right.
So school, but we didn't go. I mean, the school did. Just them and their teacher, I guess, went.
Yeah,
And it was all different, We didn't have all this stuff like the kids have now.
Back then, it was just a different time, wasn't it?
And so I went through high school. Then I had to go through high school there. We had 4 years high school after school,
Right.
Regular school. And if you went to college, you had to go out of town somewhere and stay and all that,
Oh, yeah.
So, but we had typing and I guess that's the best thing. We had all kinds of studies, and we had to study too.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember a thing.
You don't remember a thing?
Oh, me. Well, anyway. But I survived, and my sister, she got married and had the twins, boys. And then they lived in Missouri, but her husband died. Let's see, he died before Earl, didn't he? She, her youngest son, she had two more kids, boys.
Oh, she did.
And the youngest one was he played football.
Oh.
I don't know anything about football. And so she had gone to pick him up because she had to take him because he wasn't driving yet. And when she come back home, her husband had a heart attack and he's dead in the floor.
Oh, that's sad.
So she got a job in a hospital there, and she finished raising them two boys. And the other two was grown. And she worked at that hospital for years. I guess she was a nurse. And then she took some kind of a, what was that disease? I guess from being around all them sick people. But
Probably.
anyway, the boys they couldn't take care of her, so they put her in the hospital.
In the hospital.
And so she passed away, but she didn't have no funeral, no nothing. She left her body to science. She said she wanted them to find out what was wrong with her.
Well, that's interesting.
And I mean, she lived in a nursing home just for, I doubt if she lived there a year.
Oh, really?
So then she passed away, and so, but she had left it all right. She had that all fixed out anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so then one of the other boys died here, not the twins, one of the other, the third son. He had cancer, and he lived up in St. Louis, and he passed away. And he didn't have any services either, don't think. Don't remember back. But anyway, then here the other, last year I guess it was, one of the twins died.
Oh, no.
And so now it's just the oldest boy and the youngest one that's living.
That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they was there for Earl's, if you've seen them.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the oldest and the youngest one. And my brother had, well, of course, he lived in Chicago, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or Waukegan, and he had Debbie and what's her name? I said,
Do you want to,
my nephews,
how many brothers and sisters did you have?
just one of each.
Just one brother and one sister?
Mhm.
What were their names?
Geneva
Geneva
and Bill.
and Bill.
Bill was a military person.
Oh, really? What do you remember about them when you were growing up? Did you have any memories with them?
My sister stayed at the house, so I assume she helped Mom,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I was the one that helped Dad out in the field and tended to stock and tended to the chickens and gathered up eggs and mowed the yard. And you pushed the lawnmower.
You pushed it?
Yeah, it don't run by itself, you know. Or you had to push it to make that blade go over.
How long do you think that took you?
Well, I usually started early because it was always hot.
What was it?
We had a pretty good sized yard.
Mm-hmm.
I'd usually mow the front first, and then I'd mow the back later in the evening. And I did that, well, till I got married, I guess.
Yeah.
And, but I worked all the time, I mean, on the farm. And then I'd have to go up and help my grandmother. She just lived up through the woods. I'd walk through the woods and get to their house, and I'd help her can. They'd wash the jars and everything, and peel the peaches and fix them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd have to put them outside. And that's what you call cold packing.
Cold packing.
And let's see, they've got a big can like that, and it's got water in it. You put your things in there, in the cans, already fixed, and then you put a fire under them, and you cold pack them so many minutes, and then you have to take them out, and they're done. That's the way we.
Sounds like it would be yummy.
Well, it was a lot of work,
It was a lot of work.
but that's the way we was raised, so you know.
Yes.
And picked berries, sometimes we go to Harrisburg and peddle them, sell them
Really?
to old people. Come over to your car if they saw fresh stuff off of your, in your car.
Yeah.
And that's women. Well, so a lot of them had maids, or the doctors
Yeah.
lived, and but the other women would come out too, and so we peddle them, and we send them get the eggs. They all like the eggs,
Yes.
Of course. And so that was the summer, and we picked berries and picked peaches and got ready for the winter.
It sounds
And it was
good.
school time,
Yeah.
and so I graduated.
What do you remember about your mom and dad?
Well, Dad was a real quiet person.
Yeah.
Wasn't loud spoken or nothing like that. And Mom, she was the boss.
A boss.
Oh yeah, boss to everybody. If we're paid attention
I
to her.
think that runs in our family.
Well, probably. And so anyway, but she was good. She used to whip us off. We didn't mind. I mean, me anyway. And I had to always watch Bill, because he
Yeah.
was younger. So he didn't get hurt. And if he got hurt, then it was my fault, of course.
Oh, of course. That's how it works, doesn't
And
it?
then we had, Dad had big long ropes. And he put them on the horse, and then he would guide the horse to plow, That's
Yeah.
Well, there was some kids come by, and they wanted to stay at our house and play, where their folks was over at the neighbors. So they did. So I went and got that big rope and put it in a tree. And I thought, well, the kids could play with that,
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know they was as big as they were. And they broke my rope.
They broke it.
Yes, and it was his plow line.
Oh,
Oh, Mom, she used to fit to be tied. She said, "This way till your dad gets home. You tore that up. He'll hit with you." He never.
Mm-mm.
He said, "We'll go fix it."
Yeah.
And he got another piece of rope and he plaited that together.
See,
But
that's
she
easy.
always wanted him to whip me, but he never did.
Nope.
I knew he wouldn't,
Oh, you knew he wouldn't either.
Well, I tell him, I said, I didn't know they was that heavy, Dad, or I would not have took it out there. And of course he'd working, and you'd come home. And of course I got into it a lot like that, but no, he knowed I helped him a lot,
Mm-hmm.
Then we'd have to hold up the vegetables,
Yeah.
and where he picks like turnips, a great big patch of turnips, after that was over. Well, then he put straw down, and then they'd put the whatever we wanted in there. Of course, we had horse potatoes. You couldn't put sweet potatoes in there because they would not last. We had to have them in the house. And turnips, we had turnips, them different things. And he'd cover that all over with straw and then dirt,
Yeah.
And then in the winter time, he'd call it holding it up. So he'd go out and dig it out, and we'd have all that fresh stuff to eat too,
Yeah, that's
Besides
cool.
what we canned, was in the basement.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's what our food.
Yeah, that was.
See, and of course we fixed our own bread. Made our own biscuits and everything.
Yeah.
If they went to town, then we would have a loaf of hot bread, but not all that much. I didn't think it's near as good as the biscuits.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just the way we lived.
It's a lot different.
And you
isn't
had,
it?
you had to work or you'd starve. And there was a lot of people that would not work.
Yeah.
And it's pathetic and they'd send these kids to school and they would not be clean or nothing, And the teacher, she didn't like it. And so we had washcloths and we had a well,
And you would wash them.
So, and soap. So a lot of times we had to wash their faces and hands, and lots of times. The little kids,
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause They probably couldn't do it themselves.
Well, they weren't taught to,
Yeah.
see. And that one little girl, she was a very pretty little girl, and she had real long blonde hair, but they did plait it, you know. But I was sitting behind her, and I saw a bug. Oh my God! So I went and told the teacher. Had lice.
She had lice. Oh no.
And so we had to wash her hair.
Really good, didn't you?
Yeah. And then when I was a senior, I guess I was a senior that year, we had another family, and then the woman was real religious. And she didn't think her kids could do nothing wrong, you know, she was one of them kind. And her oldest son, well, that was the only one she had, him and his two sisters, they had to walk home. We all walked home, you know. But they went one way and we went another. But when we got back to school, their mother was with them.
Yeah.
And she told the teacher, she said, I'm going to whip her. And that's her daughter she was talking about. She said she doesn't mind. And she went off in the woods with a boy, and she wasn't supposed to be doing that.
Oh, she wasn't supposed to be doing that.
I don't know what she done, because I never did find out.
No.
And of course her brother told on her that she went on. So all of us kids was sitting here now, and there was that woman with that daughter, and she told her son, she said, go get me a switch now and get me a good one. And she whipped that girl right there in front of this whole class.
In front of all of you guys?
Well, them little kids, it scared them to death, especially them two, you know.
Yeah.
That I took care of. Each one of them come and sat with me. A little boy and that little girl, and the teacher looked at me, and I nodded in my head I'd take care of them, you know. And now just something like that went on. Then we'd had principals come, check the school out.
Yeah.
But outside of that, we survived.
You did survive.
It was different than Michigan school, I'll tell you
for
that.
sure.
So then we had to go to crab orchard, you know, and so went there. And got through that, graduated.
So do you remember who your role models were or your heroes were when you were growing up?
Well, probably my grandparents and my aunt.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell me why?
Well, they's always kind to us, and they was always worked. You know, everybody had to work though, but they were more work brittle than a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Some people was poor, but they didn't work. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And their place looked like it. But I guess them too. My aunt, she loved us. Of course, she did. She was one that was a nurse and didn't have kids, you know. And she'd take care of us if we. And then I stepped on a nail, and so she mixed up a great big commotion, put it on my foot, and that's when I guess I was. Well, we was on vacation, I think, or either that or. It was through the summer, so I wouldn't have been in school anyway. But anyway, she fixed that up. But she was always doctoring us kids, you know.
Yes.
And,
do you remember what your first trip was, like your first vacation?
Where we went?
Yeah, where
as
did you
a
go?
child?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess when we was in Michigan, we came down here for Christmas.
That was your first trip?
Uh-huh.
Did you come back to see your family?
Yeah, to my grandma and grandma.
That's
and
cool.
She had ordered us, me and my sister, dolls. And then she made them all kinds of clothes, because they didn't have clothes on.
Right.
And Geneva's was dark-headed and mine was light-headed. And I had them, and I even moved them. And when we moved all of our stuff, you know, to that house that burned, I had all my stuff there, and it all burned up.
Oh, no.
Couldn't get nothing out. Barely got some clothes out for the kids, you know.
Yeah.
And so all of my stuff burned.
I'm sorry about that.
And well, as I said, we was just lucky we got that ourselves.
That is true.
But we never did want to build back there. He didn't. So, but that's just when we came to Marion. Rented 2 houses, and he bought them.
Do you remember what your favorite job was?
My work.
Yeah. Like,
And got paid. I don't think I ever worked. I wasn't a public. I didn't work for public.
But did you help Grandpa with anything?
Oh,
Like any of the
everything.
business stuff?
No. Mom usually took care of all that.
Mm-hmm.
What business we had. We had to save money up to pay the taxes on our little place,
Yeah.
you know. And then I sometimes would go to the courthouse with Dad or Mom or someone. But I didn't do none of it. I just won.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do none of that. And so I didn't work anywhere.
That's okay.
Women didn't usually work out, you know.
Yeah.
Unless some of them had some of them had the big families. They had daughters that would go and stay with other families that had sick people that was in bed, you know.
Yes.
Bed fast. Now that they would have a job. Like Pauline. Did you remember Pauline Parks that died?
I
She
think
was 100.
so.
She lived to be 100. Okay, she was one of my neighbors.
Oh, really?
And she went to school the same time I did. I mean, I was in school. You
Yeah.
know. But anyway, she did that. She took care of when she was, and they had a large family. She had 3 brothers, and I think 3 sisters. And they lived on a farm, about as far as maybe the square from us,
Yeah.
you know. And he was a big farmer. He raised a certain kind of a horse. I don't know remember what that was now. Her dad did. He was a very strict man. And then she married Blaine. But I guess they had that one little girl, you know, and she died. Their first baby did.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah. Well, we could tell something was wrong with it because I was over there at Mrs. Parks, and that's after me and Earl was married for a little while. And I picked her up. And I looked at her. I took a walk over there to Mrs. Parks. I said, Mrs. Parks, what's the matter with this baby? She said she has something wrong with her. I don't know what she was born with, but she never moved. If her hand moved, you had to move it. The little thing couldn't move.
Yeah.
And she lived like that, I think, until she was over a year old.
Mm-hmm.
And Pauline was giving her a bath, and she died while Pauline was washing her.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, but then they had the 2 boys, you know, and
Yeah.
they was healthy. And then, of course, they both all gone. I mean, the boys are not, but both of them are. And outside of that, just here and there.
Yes. So when you were my age, what were you doing? When you were 21. What was your life like when you were 21?
Well, let's see, how old was I? Well, I guess I was just helping the family, honey, until I got married. And
Yeah.
we lived with his folks till he rented that house, you know, that
Mhm.
I said dirty, and I had to clean.
Yes.
But as far as public work, I didn't work
Mhm.
public work.
That's okay.
And my sister didn't either. So
Mhm.
then my brother, he rode up, and he was a military man. Big
Yeah.
time. And but he was very smart. I mean, when he was born, he was smart. You know, you see kids, it's that way.
Yes.
He's very intelligent, and but he would mind me because he knew I had to watch over him, you know. And so I had no trouble with him. But and when he just kept going higher and higher. He first started out picking up the soldiers that was shot over on them islands, you know. He was everywhere. And then after all of that, then he would have to take boys on maneuvers and teach them what to do if they was in a big hole or whatever. And I said, "But did you ever get down in them holes like that?" He said, "Oh, yes. You had to. You had to train them."
Yeah, you had to train them.
And so he worked 27 years. He did that.
Wow.
He was
That's
in service for 27 years. And they brought the recruiters in. That's a young orphan, you know. And he'd always have to make a big speech and tell them what all they could expect, you know. And then they was in St. Louis. And he was standing up there making a speech. And they always have an extra person. And he turned around and he told the boy, he said, "You take over now." He said, "I just couldn't do it anymore." And he retired.
Oh, well, it was time.
Yeah.
He'd worked there for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so anyway, after some of that, of course, Geneva moved off, you know, and didn't see her very often and whatever.
So what would you say you know now about living a happy life that you didn't know when you were 20?
Oh, I got to go to a lot of places.
You did? Yes, you did.
Yeah.
That was
I wasn't used to that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And if I wanted something, then I got to buy it.
Yep. That was nice.
Because he made money.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't used to have that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had the children, but I tried to give them all good stuff, you know, buying good clothes and things. And he never complained.
No. What do you think is the most important thing you've learned during your life?
Well, I ask God all the time, why are you keeping me here this long?
Yes.
I haven't figured that out yet.
Well, you have a purpose.
Huh?
You have a purpose.
Well, yes, but to be as old as I am, see, I had to give up driving because it made me nervous, and I was afraid I'd have a wreck. I drove since I was 18 years old and never had a wreck, never dented a fender or nothing. Went everywhere, drove all them trips down to
Florida
and back, because Earl would go to sleep, and so I'd rather drive than watch him. And never. And I don't know, but they just after he passed away, I guess I drove 2 years maybe.
Yeah.
But I just got real nervous all at once, and I don't know what happened. I mean, you know. And I thought, well, I'm going to give this up.
Yep.
So I joined her in the meantime her car. She never did have one that was worth a feud anyway. Some of the meanies' husbands have. So. Well, they were. Maybe she was just bored. I don't know. But anyway, I said, well, then rather than buying you a car, I'll just give you mine.
Yep.
So
because you weren't using it anymore.
No. And it was a dandy because Earl bought it new for me. You know. He was trying to find me. I had gone over to hair and this face. They cut everything off of me. They said I was in Florida too long in that sun.
In the sun, yeah.
But, well, I only played golf, you know, and then I fished, but it does something to your body. And they had to go in deep here, and then this thing, I don't know what happened there. But this is left from whatever they done there. Then they cut my nose wide open, and I had a big gash here.
Oh, no.
I've had one back across my back. Okay. She was looking at me the other day, and she was here. She said, "Mom, you need to go to the dermatologist." I said, "I'm not going to no doctor."
No, not again.
I've been cut on enough.
Yeah.
I know. She said, "Well, that don't look good." Well, I know it don't, but then whatever. And so anyway, now I work with my lawn man, trying to keep him here. And I've got, after all them leaves go, oh, did you see all my trees? I had trees.
Yes, they look nice.
Well, we had rain all the time, all spring. And they keep announcing, if you have trees that's up close to your house, be careful because the roots, they have no, and they'll fall on your house. Well, I had all these, and they were big. And so I called, and he come up here, and well, they got through in a hurry because he had all that equipment. But he had worked here before. Earl had him, so I knew who he was, on Crab Orchard. And that was one of the things I did this spring. And because I was afraid as much rain as we had, and we had a big winds,
We did have a lot of
and
rain.
I was afraid they'd fall over here on this house.
Yeah.
And so that's been my project this summer.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that boy was here and mowed the last time. I said, now don't come back and mow anymore till I call you. I want all these leaves to fall first. I'll call. So they haven't all fell yet.
Yeah.
And outside of that, I don't put my stuff outside because I'm not supposed to be out in the sun. So I'm here in the house.
Yep.
And I read. I love to read.
What's your favorite book?
I don't have any favorite ones.
You don't have any? You like them all?
Mm-mm.
What about movies? You have any favorite movies?
Mm-mm.
No.
No, and I don't like TV.
You don't like TV?
No. And I watch the news, and I hate to watch that. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen to our world now?
Oh, what's going to happen?
And then I worry about all this fire that's out here in California.
Oh,
See,
yeah.
Earl has family out there.
Oh, no.
And, well, they was kin to his mother, Mrs. Parks. And her dad moved out there and married again and had a family. So that's the ones that's out there. And they, well, of course, grown and died and all bad, but they got kids and I just worry about some of them.
Those
I was going to get my Christmas cards out and see if, I think I still got one of their phone numbers, addresses, and see if they, I don't know whether they're in all that mess or not. And Earl and I went, he was kind of getting sick then. Whenever we went that last time out there, we flew, out there, visit his great cousin, I guess you'd call him. I don't know what else to call him. But then I always get a Christmas card from one of them.
You do?
Yeah, he was a dentist.
Oh, that's nice.
And his son was going to, somewhere down here. And he was taken from there now. He was down here being the dentist. I mean, learning to be one. And he'd always come by the house and stay with us. And he was there at Christmas time one time.
Really?
And so then he'd always send us. He got married and he moved to where the family lived, his family out there. And I think his dad and mother both passed away, and his grandmother did. And so he's a dentist, I guess. That's the one I'm wondering if he's still living or not. Yeah. And outside of that, I've got so many cards, but I don't think I'm going to be able to handle all of them this time.
You don't think so? Why not?
You don't have any idea, honey, how many cards. When you finish this, I'll open them and bring them out here.
Okay. What do you want your children and grandchildren to remember about you?
Well, that I was always a good person. I refused my daughter to smoke.
Yes.
I dreadfully hated that. And I didn't find out until her husband told me she smoked.
Oh, really?
And that was 2 years ago.
2 years ago?
I said, you mean to tell me she smoked when she was in high school? He said, yes.
Oh, no.
And you know who I'm talking about.
I do know who you're talking about.
And I didn't believe in drinking. I never drank. See? So I guess that's the reason I've lived so long.
Uh-huh. You're
Didn't
right.
smoke or didn't drink.
I
Just
bet.
worked.
Yep. A happy, healthy life.
I guess. So, but I don't know why I was so set against people drinking. Well, I guess when I was in Michigan, or maybe even after I went home, you'd see men that had drunk these wheeling around, on the trying to walk home or whatever, I thought that's ridiculous, and that's awful. So then I just, of course, my dad didn't drink or smoke, and of course, Mom didn't smoke. They didn't do that back then.
Oh, no.
Well, I think some of them did, but then she didn't. My nurse aunt, she didn't smoke either, and so I don't know. That's just the way I was raised.
Yep, that's perfectly
And,
okay.
And I was really against the kids, and so I didn't know that they all smoked. They didn't smoke around me. I'll tell you.
They knew it would make you mad.
Well, I'd have made them quit.
Oh, yeah.
And so one day we was talking, and Katie, she's something else. But anyway, she said, Mom, I don't know why you were so against us smoking. I said, well, it was ridiculous. It was useless. And it made you sick. She said, well, we all smoked. I said, all of you?
All of them?
I said, even Brenda? Brenda was sick. She had cancer, She said, well, she didn't smoke like we did, all of us. And I just shook my head and closed my eyes. I didn't know what to say.
You didn't know what to say. You were in shock.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what life advice would you pass along to your grandchildren?
Well, I hope they live a long, happy life. Well, I don't know whether I want to wish them to be 96 or not.
Yeah.
But well, way up into the 80s and to the 90s. That would be good.
That would be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And a good, healthy life. And just think of me as I just worked and tried to take care of people, as best I could. And I still do.
You still do.
Yeah. Still work in my office.
Keep busy, don't you?
Yeah. Now, you wouldn't think that a person that was 96 had to do that, but I've always done it ever since. I helped him start when I saw he was getting, so I took over. So I have learned a lot of things.
You have. You've lived a great life.
Yeah. So if I go, it'll be a happy place to go.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Don't worry about me. Because I always ask God, why are you keeping me here? For some reason. And I don't get an answer. I haven't got an answer yet.
And
but
then
maybe one day I will.
One day you'll be with Grandpa again.
Yeah.
And Brenda.
Yeah. And then all my other family.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any other memories you want to talk about? Of your favorite memories?
Well, I don't know. I had fun playing golf. I love to fish. I love to fish. Not big like them guys with tickets just like that. I just can't fish it. And we had good lakes there where we was down there in Florida, I enjoyed living down there all the time we did.
I bet.
And
I love Florida.
And we'd get together with the people up here and we played cards. The women played bridge. I don't even remember how to play now. And we'd get together and play bridge, and we'd, of course, we had the ladies golfing too, and then men's golf days. And then I went to the Baptist church down there, and the old one had burned, and they had built a new one, and it was all glass. And you sat in there and you look out, well, there's just cars everywhere, and you know, out the window.
Yeah.
But then before we ever left, they had built the new one back. And so then at Christmas time, we was down there at Christmas time. And they would build a tree on the stage at the church. And then they'd have like decoration all over it, you know. And then the choir would be walking. They'd go up and down, and they would be standing there, and they sing. And that's, well, I was telling the girls that I played golf with that. They said, well, I'd like to go to that. And I said, well, they're having their Christmas thing. You can go. And so, but I had to, they couldn't just automatically go. You had to have somebody take you. So I got tickets, you know, for them.
Yeah.
And so Earl and me and, of course Earl came with me, but then the girls that I played golf with, two of them and her husbands, we all went and was sitting there. They really enjoyed that.
I bet they did.
Because their church didn't do it, so that they went to.
And I bet they had lots of fun with you too.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't a very outgoing person. I never did that. You know, I didn't have to be. I could just sit back, watch the rest of them.
Right. And relax.
And, yeah. And so, but we did enjoy Florida time we were there.
Mm-hmm.
And so, outside of that, my grandkids, great grandkids.
Yep.
Great grandkids.
Great grandkids.
Now I don't see them very much.
Mm-mm.
Do you see them?
Like Kinley and Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
We saw them at Thanksgiving, and then normally when I'm home, I'll go over to Brittany's house, just like once to see them.
Yeah. Now when Brittany was little, I was close to her, but after she got married, I was never close to her.
Mm-mm.
So I don't know what happened there.
I don't know.
And but she thought her dad was just it. Britt.
Yeah.
Well, which was good. But if he done anything wrong, she blamed everybody else.
She did, didn't she?
Oh, bad. I mean, very bad. I thought, what in the world? And we don't act like that.
Mm-mm.
And but we all tried to help Brett, but we couldn't do anything.
I know, we couldn't help him.
And so I remember Linda asked me if I'd give him any money. I said the last check I wrote him, it was to put a furnace in that house down there.
Yes.
Yeah, and I said, did he put my? See, I've never been in the house.
Yeah.
And he come to Earl, but this is before Earl passed away. He wanted, you know, if he got divorced from whatever, and he wanted to buy a house down there. And so Earl went on the note with him so he could borrow money. He wouldn't pay the payments.
No.
So, and then Earl would always get the statement. Well, he didn't like that.
Oh, no.
But, you know, I said, Earl, why don't you pay that house off and give that thing to him
Just
and forget about it.
Yeah.
And so he did. And but Earl couldn't do nothing with him either from drinking and whatever he did.
Yeah.
So it was sad. But then Brittany, she blames everybody else for whatever. And of course, she never said anything. She should never have said anything out of the way to me.
Mm.
Then I went through her husband, the one she's got now.
Justin?
I kind of liked him.
Yeah, I like him a lot.
I bought that car from Derek, you know.
Yeah.
See that old car, that white car he had, Earl bought that used. And at the same time he bought Heather one from Absher's, and that was way long time ago.
Yeah.
And I thought, I've got to get him a different car before I die. So I asked Linda, I said, do you know any used car people that I could talk to? And then she told me about him.
Justin, yeah.
And so I called him, and he said, yeah, come out. So I went out there and was looking around. And he seemed to be very nice and polite and all. So he found one for Derek, so I bought that one for Derek.
That's very nice.
Yeah. And, but now Derek paid license and everything like that. It's the insurance. But I bought the car. And then I didn't know he was going to have cancer. But I didn't get to go because I already told him. See, he'd always come and knock on this door.
Yeah.
That's when he'd visit me, you know. And I said, Derek, I know you're going to have surgery, but I cannot go to the hospital with you.
No.
And he said, that's okay, Grandma. So he knowed I wouldn't be there. And, and outside of that, I don't know. I've done everything I'm supposed to do or not.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
I put the names on the tombstones.
You did? Yes, you did.
Had them put on, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tammy come up here. And she wanted Brit on our rock.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I've got one spouse left, and that's it. Because there's Katie, Timmy, Simone, and Brit.
Yep.
They're all on the backside there.
Yes, they are.
But Timmy said the other day, well, it's been months ago, he said, I don't know whether I want to be cremated or not. And I said, well, there's room there if you don't, for, you know, a casket. Because it's all on that one side. Nothing there. The other side's all full. I'm the last there. And so, whatever.
Yeah.
And just things like that is what I've been trying to figure out to do to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. I've got to get Jad's car now. He can't keep a car, so their folks was lawyers, and I tell you what, them two.
Yeah.
Adam is not as bad as Jay. He just, but poor boy, I don't know. They're just no fix.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for letting me interview you, Grandma.
But, yeah. So you girls have a part. How long are you gonna go to school? What are you making?
Going to get I have to go to school for 3 more years because I have to get my master's degree.
Oh, 3 more years.
Mm-hmm.
You going down there, or you going to somewhere else now?
I'll probably stay at Southern Indiana.
Well.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I have a little bit more time left.
Yeah. Then what do you want to work at?
I'm going to school to be a social worker.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy, they need some, don't they?
Yes,
up
they
here?
do in this world nowadays.
You look on the TV, it just makes me sick sometimes when I look at some of the things that goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Me
too.
Yeah. I just wish we had stronger policemen or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, we have such mean people.
We do, don't we?
Oh, and they're worse all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's even dangerous to go to the grocery store.
It is.
And then that one man, you know, that was in Chicago, made them women take all their clothes off. Did you see that?
I did not see that.
And he shot that one. And so then they shot the police finally got to wherever they were supposed to be and shot him. But it didn't kill him. So now he'll probably go to prison for life or whatever.
He deserves to go to prison.
Huh?
He deserves it.
Well, yes. But I mean, just like that. And he didn't even know none of them.
Mm-mm. People are insane.
You wonder where, yeah, they are. Or they're on dope so much that I think it ruins their minds.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. And that one guy that come in that hospital, you know, and shot they weren't married, but they was talking about it on the news, and she had made a doctor, but she had also been over here to Carbondale to school.
Yeah.
And he went in there, and she told her she wasn't going to marry him, you know. Well, the guard that was guarding all of them, he wasn't right there with them at the time. And he shot her, he shot the doctor that was there, and another nurse.
Oh, that's so sad. I didn't hear about that.
And then, well, this is up in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just something like that goes on all the time. But then when they noticed, said that about her going to school over here at Carbondale, you know.
Yeah.
She wasn't from Carbondale, she just wanted to go
went to
there.
school here.
Yeah, but she had colored blood in her, you could tell from her face, you know. And he was more colored than she was. And he's kind of a big guy, but showed him he's good looking, but he killed him.
It's crazy.
I know. I guess 'cause she wouldn't marry him, whatever.
Yeah.
And well, the one woman that was working in, she worked with the medicine, putting it out, you know. He killed her, and then he shot the doctor that was in there, and so that something like that goes on all the time.
Yep. That's why I'm gonna try to help change the world.
Yeah, but I don't know. Who do you think will get to do it?
I'm not sure.
Trump scares me to death.
He does.
Stuff that he does.
Yeah.
He thinks nobody's good but him.
Mhm.
He thinks he's in love with himself. He's always been that way. See, he was down in, when Earl and I went to Florida the first time, and we bought a house down there. He was building these big condos.
Yeah.
Then he didn't pay for none of them. They ran him out of down there.
Oh.
Yeah, and he went to California.
Yeah.
Had to go out there with his dad.
Hmm.
He wasn't, well, he was married, but not to the one he's married to now.
Yeah.
And then when he run, then he talks awful about our presidents, you know, that has been president.
Yeah.
Now what good would that do?
I'm not sure.
Well, I was raised a Republican. I never, and I married a Democrat. When I voted here in town and all, I voted Democrat because Earl was a Democrat.
Mhm.
But I haven't voted since.
No.
Neither
not
one.
since. Mm-mm.
And I tell you what, our world is, it's sad.
It is sad.